A Build Hatch developed production.
Hello, I'm Aaron Kyle and welcome to another episode of Build Hatch. This week's episode of Build Hatch was a really enjoyable and energetic episode. I love getting around every single week, meeting the real people. And on this week's episode of Build Hatch, I got to sit down with Robbie and Dino from EvoBuilt in Melbourne. These guys were a lot of fun and, like I said, full of passion and energy. These guys are builders who also happen to be cousins, and you're going to hear the full story. That is the real story of how these guys grew up together and evolved into owning and operating a successful building company in Melbourne. And these guys also happen to have recently completed the latest successful series of Channel 9's The Block. Like I said, Robbie and Dean were full of energy, and I absolutely loved hearing how EvoBuilt evolved from a small carpentry business into the building company that it is today. These guys just took advantage of every opportunity that's come their way, and you'll get to hear about their unofficial motto. That is, just make it happen. This week is a beauty, so I bring you Robbie and Dino from EvoBuilt. Now let's get into it. So Robbie and Dean, welcome to Build Hatch.
Cheers, Az.
Thanks, mate.
So you guys are from EvoBuilt, which is a Melbourne-based builder.
Yep.
So like always, we always like to go back on our guest history and find out what inspired them to get into the building and construction industry. So whereabouts did you guys grow up?
Southeast suburbs. We both sort of grew up Monbulk, Emerald, out in the sticks. I actually did plastering for like 4.5 years. Dumb mistake. Terrible job. And
Good skill,
Hard
though.
work.
yeah, good skill. It's come in handy a few times doing renos.
The
But
plasterers will ride into us when this goes live.
we get
like
on?
the Lecos.
But yeah, just done that for a while and then made a bit of a deal with one of my bosses. We're doing commercial. So said to him, look, can I do a carpentry apprenticeship? I'll run your plastering side of it. And you teach me how to do the carpentries.
Let's go back a step. So what got you into construction? What was your school life like or childhood growing up?
Never know, really. Just full of F's and D's and
We grew up making rope swings into dams.
So you guys are actually
sort of
you
stuff.
guys are actually cousins.
Literally,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So you guys go way back.
Yeah.
Way back. We used to have mullets down about our shoulders.
Back to the womb, really.
Yeah, so you guys were close. You got to grow up interacting with each other's families growing
Yeah,
up.
we had a
Yep.
big Dutch family, always had big Christmases and very humble sort of family. And yeah, it was good. It was a good upbringing. We've had a
So did you
pretty
get
good crack.
D's and F's at school as well?
A+ in sport, F in everything else.
So you're practical kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got an A in drama. That's the only A I ever got in my life. A in drama.
I would never have guessed that talking to you and getting to know you. So going through school though, so you knew that you weren't going to go to university, so you're looking at a trade profession.
Yeah, well, I got in a year 10 pass and dropped out halfway through year 11, and I was a roof tiling labourer for 3 weeks just to make some cash.
Didn't last long.
Didn't last long. Dropped a few buckets, and then that's what they say. Oh, he's dropped it, and then ended up doing a carpentry pre-apprenticeship, which led into a full carpentry apprenticeship, and I was qualified by the age of 21.
And you loved
which
it.
was cool. Yeah, I did. I did love it. I didn't realise where it was going to bring me to, but I always liked playing with Lego when I was a kid. Apparently, that's what Mum says.
And Meccano.
Yeah, Meccano.
Just building shit.
We built a few tree houses too. So it was always in our blood, I suppose. And that just led to, eventually getting the qualification. And
So you did your apprenticeships, and then you were obviously working for other companies.
Yeah, I did a plastering apprenticeship first and then rolled into carpentry apprenticeship and then sort of, teed up with Dean. It was all a bit of a fluke, really.
you did commercial.
Yeah,
For a
I
bit.
did commercial. I was building banks. Dean was obviously all residential, and we sort of, got together on a job and thought, shit, why not start a company?
Yeah, it was a good combination, the commercial and domestic experience, because there was nothing that we didn't sort of know how to tackle, or there was no problem we couldn't solve sort of thing. But then there was the units. Robbie was approached by a builder to build 6 single-story prefabricated units in Preston, and he sort of realised he needed an extra hand, and I was floating around as a subby at the time. And I was like, yeah, I'll jump on board with that. And that's what kind of sparked it. This was before we even had our first apprentice, before we had a logo, before we had any core values. And
The early days.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
And just sort of branched from there, and we realised, oh shit, we can't do this ourselves. We've got 6 units to build, and it was for the government, for government housing in Preston. So it was a bit of a time frame. And we thought, oh shit, we'll put on an apprentice. Why not? Jumped on Gumtree, found a young bloke, Kane. He was keen as he was 17, catching the bus to work. He'd get up at he was from Diamond Creek. He was getting up at he reckons like 4 o'clock in the morning, catching a bus to here, train to here, sometimes getting an Uber, got to work, and we're just like, man, you've got good morals and good work ethic. And yeah, then me and Dean were like, oh, well, shit, we may as well get a logo. So we sort of sorted out the EvoBuilt logo, and next minute we got...
That was hard.
Yeah, that was hard. That took probably a month or so, getting a logo together. And
so what about the name EvoBuilt? I always like to tack into what the meaning is and where it's come from.
It sounded fresh and it looked good on paper. And
we like the EB.
And EvoBuilt was taken. But it's Evo is kind of short for evolution. We want to be the ever evolving building industry and contribute to it. And then the built part is kind of like, past tense contradicts itself. Evolution's evolving, but it's already been built. So it's kind of like cool little EvoBuilt. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're the meanings that I love to find out, that no one would know. They'd drive past your site, think EvoBuilt.
Just another name.
Just another name.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's some meaning there.
Yeah, definitely some meaning.
And also, like, if I can put it into context, like, you guys grew up together as cousins, so you've both evolved, and
yeah, definitely,
it's morphed into EvoBuilt. So
yeah.
All right. So how did that first job go?
It
was good.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, we learned a lot. We definitely learned a lot. The builder, he was actually a plumber that had got his builder's license. So we were sort of not teaching him, but yeah, sort of showing him what to do and sort of taking a bit of control of it. And yeah, it turned out pretty good. We've done full start to finish, from digging the stump holes to laying the turf. Like, we literally done the landscaping, built all the fences, painted some of them. I did a bit of plastering. It was a jack of all trades, and yeah, got it done. And we sort of utilised all our mates. One of our roofers, Simon from Hillside, who we continually use now, we've used for sort of 3.5 years. That we used him on that first job because I grew up with him as well, and we use a Sparky, JB Data and Electrical, and yeah, we grew up with him in Emerald as well. So we've sort of tried to keep it a tight knit, and now that we're sort of growing bigger, we want to try and keep all that together.
You want to keep that family,
keep
that
a
value-driven culture going with your business.
Yeah, definitely.
It was a good project. The product was called Force 10. It was a prefabricated steel and cement sheet structure that we were the only people in Victoria that knew how to put them together. And it could have been a lot bigger, but I think they died off a little bit.
I don't think they got their marketing right, but they were hurricane-proof and fireproof. So
they built them overseas, earthquake-prone areas in the middle of the jungle.
New Zealand, Vanuatu, they reckon.
Yeah, right.
All these different places that get earthquakes, but yeah, it was a good job.
So that sort of evolved into being a carpentry crew business?
Yeah, definitely.
Back then?
Yeah. The first sort of 12 months, we were just sort of taking it as it comes, and we got another apprentice, which was one of our first apprentices' best mates. They lived down the road from each other, so they were catching the bus together, and parents would drop them off. And we thought, then we ended up getting uniform and thought, get sign writing, and we started sort of pumping up the company a bit and paying ourselves F all, and trying to just build the business really. Yeah,
the kind of second year of operating was transitioning from the Force 10 stuff to our own little jobs, bits and pieces, and we noticed that our two apprentices were lacking basic framing experience, which is like a key component to a carpenter really. So we thought, we'll do Metricon frames for a year. Whew, was that hard? That was really hard.
And one of my best mates, Luke, he's got a company, Almac Constructions. He sort of took us under his wing. He's like, look, if you just want frames, mate, that he pumps them out, 2 or 3 a week. He goes, I'll give you a couple of frames. So we're just like, oh yeah, sweet. And we realised that we were way too pedantic to do framing, because we were, plumbing it up and trying to get things to the mill and doing way too much for slap together frames, and
but I
didn't make good money on it at all because we're too slow.
But I love that you guys thought, how can we get this experience for our young and fresh team. So you're
Yeah.
willing to have a go and ask around and say, well, let's actually, instead of trying to find out how to do this, let's actually go learn practically firsthand and get some exposure going. So yeah, at least you got to go through that system of getting it done and learning it.
Yep.
Yeah, it was good for us too because we had to learn how to teach people.
Isn't it funny how a carpenter, you assume that that's part of your trade, but there's so many different aspects to being a carpenter, isn't it? You can be
Definitely.
a formwork carpenter, you can be a stick framer, just put up frames. You
Cladding, fixing.
Yeah, there's just so many different components.
Even landscapers these days do a
Yeah,
majority
like
of
hard
carpeting.
landscaping.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they'll,
exactly.
they'll build
Pergolas,
decks,
yeah.
steps, pergolas. That's another ballpark altogether.
Yeah, and then you got commercial.
Yeah.
There's 6 major aspects to carpentry, I suppose. To be the master of all of them, you probably need 20 years experience.
Kane, the little fella that caught the bus and went above and beyond, is he still working for you guys?
He's with Elmac.
Yeah, he's with my best mate, Almo. Yeah, because he just loved framing through and through. So
he loved it.
he said, oh, look, you don't have to work for us, no hard grudges. And called Luke and said, do you want another apprentice? He's like, oh, yeah, bloody oath. And now, yeah, he's working with him.
All right, so you guys were plodding along back then. So where did you sort of continue on from there? What sort of projects were you trying to sort of stay like a carpentry crew, or were you aspiring to be a builder eventually?
Oh, it's all, like even up until now, it's all just snowballed and just continued on. And at that point, we sort of thought, oh, well, let's try and get some other work. So I think we were like even driving down the peninsula and just thought, oh, well, let's try and call whoever we want to work for. So we'd drive past the grouse site and be like, oh, shit, that's unreal. Grab the number off the fence, and I think Dean called a builder called Anthony Lan, and he turned out to build just phenomenal joints. Like he built this cafe down Mount Martha, and okay, yeah, I actually need a couple of chippies. And next minute he's got all 4 of us just doing hourly rate on carpentry, building like this $1 million cafe down the Mornington Peninsula called Tornadoes, and unreal food. Unreal food.
Shout out to Tornadoes.
Yeah, shout out to
the Teller
Tornadoes.
Donuts.
Oh,
Go right.
Teller Donuts. But yeah, and just to like conjoin the story a bit, Anthony Lan's actually the one that got us onto the block. So like,
Funny enough.
2 years later,
Yeah.
we never realised that connection that we made with him actually led us to be on the block 2 years down the track. So, and we don't do work for him anymore, but he just sort of called us up, and yeah, another story. But anyway,
Yeah, it's funny how it all comes together in the end.
yeah,
Because after the whole volume building stuff, we started doing stuff like that for Anthony Lan, a couple of other builders. Realised we needed a few more guys, and then
that's when we started our business coaching.
yeah, that's right.
We got an accountant, just a wizard accountant.
HMB.
Yeah, HMB name drop. And yeah, he just goes, oh, I reckon you boys would suit this business coaching that I do up in Sydney. It's like, oh, yeah, we're pretty open-minded. Like, we'll give anything a crack. If we lose money, who cares? As long as you get that experience. So I thought, oh, yeah, we have a chat to this guy, Sean Sewell. And yeah, he just hit it off and still do it to this day. So probably 2.5 years of that.
That was a big milestone doing that,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
big stepping stone.
Yeah, we put us in our places a lot, taught us a lot about leadership and
Culture.
culture.
Massively culture.
What were the early conversations like between you two about, did you have vision for your business and where you wanted it to go? Were you just happy being cousins working together?
Recently, we both listened to an audio book called Rocket Fuel, which is about how 2 people in a business can get the most out of each other. And we've learnt that Robbie's definitely a visionary, and
You're an integrator.
and I'm an integrator, which is perfect. And when we did this test where it shows like people's traits, what was it called?
Yeah, it's personality test.
Personality test.
Yeah.
We were not polar opposites, but opposites, which is apparently a really good thing.
Like we had those 2 traits that showed that Dean's actually an integrator and I'm a visionary.
So reduce the likelihood of conflict.
Clashing,
Yeah,
clashing.
and doubling up. Because
too many Chiefs.
like I can sort of have,
Not
I
enough
can
Indians.
come up with a dumb idea. Oh yeah, let's do this. And Dan will be like, yep, cool, no worries, let me know when. And Dan will just make it happen. That's probably a majority of our company decisions and how they go down.
Just make it happen.
Yeah. Well, that was actually our motto. It's funny you say that. That was our motto for like the first
Is it
2
still?
years. Yeah, it still sort of is.
Yeah.
Just make it
I
happen.
forgot about
Whenever
that
the boys come to us with a problem, oh, can't
Make it
do this,
happen.
just make it happen, mate. Make it happen.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what if I break it? Doesn't matter, mate. We'll fix it. Just have a crack. Have a go.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, it's obviously a very positive can-do attitude. Like you said, just make it happen. Reduce your boundaries and just try and go out and do it. I guess with that comes some element of not being able to pre-plan, but through experience and having two directors of a company with a can-do attitude who don't conflict with each other, it achieves positive outcomes.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of things pop up. I'm trying to think of a good example where we pull each other up on our own bullshit. We'd be like, nah, we should not do that. Or why? X, Y, Z. Yeah, fair enough. It's good to have that second opinion before you make a silly decision.
Which is what our business coach calls the red team.
Red team.
And we've sort of actually tried to implement that. It's like if you think you're possibly doing something wrong or you don't know about the answer, you go, oh, Dean, can you come and check on this? Call in the red team. And they have a look at it from another point of view. It's like looking at it from an outside perspective.
Yeah.
The fire pilot's philosophy.
Yeah.
But yeah, the business coaching, I just want to dive into that a bit because it's been so beneficial. It really has like changed my whole perspective on life. It's just led you down the right positive track in dealing with people. When you're teaching someone something, you have to remember when you didn't know how to be able to do it. So you can't expect too much of someone. You have to be able to nurture them and give them a positive outcome, as opposed to being aggressive and negative and trying to manipulate them into a situation where you can probably force them to do something, but you're not going to get the best out of that person. Because we've learned a lot to care and be kind for our team and always refer to them as a team member, not a worker or just another employee or a number. We like to play golf with them, have team meetings quite a lot, and just that whole philosophy of getting the best out of people and being positive about it has changed the culture in our team massively.
Yeah, look, I love that because I often talk to a lot of people about when they're experiencing one of their team members they're having trouble with, or how do I deal with my boss or superior? Well, don't beat around it. Like, just go have a conversation. And it's not an easy thing to do. You're lucky being on top of the org structure where you guys run the company. If you already have those relationships, like being able to play golf, it allows you to have that conversation. Whereas if you don't have a workplace that has those things in place where you can say, listen, what you're doing there is annoying me, or it wasn't the right thing to do, or that's not how you speak to a client, or, when someone said this, you didn't react to it. It's so much easier to just go out and have those early conversations. You're just suddenly so much more approachable, aren't you?
Yeah.
100%, yeah. A couple of guys have come to us. A couple of guys have come directly to Rob and said, there's days when I don't want to get out of bed. Like I'm not mentally feeling right. My life's going shit. And we're just like, nah, we're not having that. Get them out at work.
Boost them up. One of the
talk
boys,
to us,
6 o'clock in the morning actually came to work and he was like half an hour early. I was like, shit, what are you doing here? And he was actually sitting down real glum. And he's a good bloke, real manly man. Like, you wouldn't have picked it. And he actually started breaking down and said, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm like, oh, fuck, what do you mean? So I've just had enough. Can't stand life anymore. I just want to jump off a bridge. I told myself. I was like, shit, mate. I had a good hour chat with him and sort of set him a few goals for the day. I said, look, go home. Before the end of the day, I want you to start boxing again, because he always said he used to want to get in boxing. And he just start reading a book about positivity. I recommended a few audibles. The other one was have a stern chat with his girlfriend, but in a positive way, because she wasn't doing a few things that he appreciated. So I said, you got to voice that, mate. You got to have a good chat with her. Don't get angry or anything like that. Just do those 3 things for me. I said, also, you're going to come for a round of golf, and he hates golf, but sort of had a chat with Dean as well. I said, do you mind if I bring Dean in on this? And had a chat with Dean, and he just walked. He didn't even play golf. He just come for a walk around the golf course and
just had a good old chat.
Yeah, have a good old chat
right.
and really open up his mind and freshen it up. And he come back the next day. He said, I've done all those 3 things. And a couple of weeks later, he was really opening up to us and heaps happier.
I think sometimes people just need that bit of a reset, bit of a flick. And also they need the option to be able to go to their peers in life. And, we needed to show our vulnerability so that people will come up to us and be like, this is how I'm feeling. Because that's what we want to get the best out of people. One thing that we've been working on lately is our mission and purpose. And we've been so strongly team orientated, and I had sleepless nights thinking, what is our mission and what is our purpose? And one mission it's changed a few times. Apparently it keeps changing throughout your business journey. But at the moment, we're a dynamic team, and we're more so about nurturing people through their journey of life so that they have a more positive impact when they go home to their family and their friends and whatnot. Building is just the byproduct of what we do, and we create beautiful spaces for people to live and retreat. But that's our real mission, is to get the team going, to be on the same page, on the same journey, get everyone heading in the same direction. Kind of like a football team mentality, isn't it, Rob?
Yeah, we use that a lot actually, like a footy team. Like we're trying to win the grand final. Sometimes you might only get into the semis, but sometimes you'll make it all out at the end. So we sort of try and, you got to look out for your team. You got to train every day. You got to eat healthy. Dean's always, whenever we have a team meeting, we have try and have a team meeting every 3 months. We get a big whiteboard, and Dean's always the first one to write like nutrition, sleep, energy, health. They're all like key aspects to coming to work and being healthy.
And it works underneath those ones.
Yeah.
You get those ones right, the results speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I talk about this regularly, and I sort of look at running a construction business like feeding the beast. You've got to get that beast up to a point where it can look after itself. Man, it's like raising children sometimes. Like you've got to teach them to crawl and then walk and eat, and then eventually they do all that themselves. But there's that journey to get to that point.
Yeah.
You've got to
get
build
the
a
right
solid foundation.
Yeah, the solid foundation and the right nourishment, and get that into the system so that the system then, the beast, just learns to take care of itself.
Yep.
And it's not an easy thing to do. So what are those late nights and hard conversations like?
Well, they don't teach you in school how to be businessmen, do you?
They don't.
We know how to swing a hammer. We can make that happen. But then when we started the company, we were like, whoa, this is
Another
massive. This is, you need a university degree to do this. Oh, okay, you need a Cert 4 now. I need a diploma, advanced diploma, or building license, or DBL, or now DBU, or we have to keep training for that. And we have to teach people and nurture them and be half an accountant and
it's a lot of
freaking
hard work, isn't it?
an entrepreneur, and sleepless nights.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
been sleepless nights.
Now, you guys have just wrapped up filming of Channel 9's The Block. So how did that journey come about?
Lonnie.
Yeah, Anthony Lahn, who we mentioned that we worked for sort of 2 years ago. We probably hadn't done work for him for maybe a solid year, I don't reckon. And he called me up out of the blue one day and just goes, "Oh, you wouldn't happen to be interested in going on The Block, would you?" And like, everyone's seen The Block. It's been going for 12 years or something. "Oh, yeah, I suppose." He goes, "Oh, yeah, cool. My mate Harry's one of the contestants." Like, "Oh, yeah." He goes, "I'll come in and have a meeting with him." "Oh, yeah, okay, no worries." I think Dean was busy at the time, so I was like, I'll come down to your factory. So I knocked off work and went down to the factory, and he's sitting in there with Harry, and I'm just like, "Oh, this must be a contestant. Harry, how you going?" And Harry's like, "All right, so what trades have you got? Have you got a Sparky?" And I'm like, "Oh, hang on a second. I haven't even said yes." And Harry's like, "Well, I'm assuming you want to do it because you're here." I was like, "Oh, yeah, I suppose." And then, quick phone call later to Dean. "Oh, what do you reckon? We go on The Block. It starts in a couple of weeks." And
The night before The Block, I was actually out on a Sunday afternoon having a couple of sippers, and Rob was, I think you were out as well. And I'm like, are we on The Block tomorrow or what? What's going on? This Harry bloke won't ring us back. And because he was getting filmed doing a challenge at the time.
because he was that busy.
And I'm like, no, he's unreliable. We're not doing it. No.
We didn't even know. No. We hadn't got locked in, like hadn't talked rates or how you even get paid.
Yeah.
Oh, nah. And then 10 o'clock that night, because that's when they must be given the phone at 10 o'clock or something. Phone call, "Oh, so you boys ready for tomorrow?"
Yeah.
"Oh, Dean, you don't have too many sippers. We got to go to work tomorrow. And how many blokes do you want?" Harry's like, "Oh, I don't know, 4, 5, bring in 3.
10.
Yeah, 10, whatever." So we had no idea. And get there, and he goes, "Just bring hard hats, fluoros, every tool you got." Oh, shit, all right.
And you're trying to juggle all the other jobs that we had on as well. So we're just like, okay, we really need to make this happen.
Because at this stage, when we first started the business coaching, we had 4 blokes, and they taught us how to scale pretty good. So we sort of went from 4, and 12 months later we had 12. We got to 14 at one stage, got a bit hectic. So when Harry was calling us, we had 12 blokes on, and he goes, "Oh, well, bring 4. So Sunday night, you're like, "Oh, shit, okay, so we need 3 blokes here. So you got to try and organise what everyone else is doing." And
you
Dean's
don't know
making
what
phone
room you're doing
calls,
either.
and we don't know what room you're doing until, I think, no, they actually told us Sunday
On the
night.
Sunday night, yeah.
They tell you Sunday night about 10 o'clock.
So they want the reaction and the drama that goes with it, the unknowns and not as much control.
Oh, yeah.
So it allows
That's what fuels it.
things to develop.
But there was a little moment there where we were like, should we actually do this or not? And we're like, it'd be a great challenge to see if we're up for it, to see if we can do it. Because it's the hardest I've ever worked. and it's the smartest I've ever had to work for the
And
least
it's
amount
just,
of money.
it's a pressure cooker, like just an absolute pressure cooker.
Yeah, very challenging, very challenging.
What do you guys like to do outside of work when you're not building?
Golf.
Yeah,
What's a golf?
Mad keen golfers.
yeah. We got into golf about a year and a half ago, and it's good because when you're playing golf, you got to really focus on what's going on. Don't top it, don't slice it. You're not thinking about work, so it's a good release. And you walk probably about 5.5K or something like that. So it's good fitness, pushing the buggy.
See some kangaroos and
Yeah,
get nature.
it's therapeutic. It's really nice.
Yeah.
It's really nice, and then you get really angry as well. Yeah, really angry.
Dean snapped a few clubs.
And then you get to have a few schooners afterwards.
Yeah, a couple of beers after.
Yep.
So what's on the cards for EvoBuilt?
Don't know, really. Just sort of grabbing the bull by the horns, and we got our builder's license to start of this year. We've done 3 or 4 renos.
Yep.
Extensions. Yeah, just learning as we go, deciding if we're going to expand or sort of stay where we are and concentrate on certain other aspects. And I suppose every builder's goal is to become a developer, really. So we just got to get some cash together and potentially buy a home and renovate it, or even buy a house with some land out the back and put a unit on it.
Yeah. We did one renovation with our auntie, which was a house in Upway.
Yeah, that was
sort of
good.
Went 3 ways on it. That gave us a taste of what it was like to actually be responsible for the build of a house and the scheduling and the money, and are you going to make profit? Are you not going to make profit?
It's a completely different hat, isn't it?
Yeah, we made a little bit of money. Like it was worth it,
Yeah,
but the money wasn't worth it really.
definitely
but
overcapitalized.
we didn't lose. We didn't lose money, and a lot of people said that the first one you do, you might lose money or you might just break even. But we did make a little bit, which was a good sign. And one question that our business coach keeps asking us is, "What is your end goal? What's your mission? Like, why do you
Come to work every day.
and what do you want to build to? Like, do you want to be a $40 million company with 40 employees? I don't think so. Do we want to be a small niche building company with 12 employees and look after our boys? Yeah, that's probably more so what we want to do.
Yeah, because what happens is, particularly running a building and construction business, is as that beast starts to get fueled and it starts to look after itself, it actually becomes more difficult to say no to opportunities that present themselves. So you kind of lose a little bit of a control in a certain respect. And so these opportunities that are presenting themselves, particularly from exposure from a TV production that has a fair audience around Australia, you have all these opportunities that keep coming your way, the door keeps knocking, and it's very difficult to say no. So you keep saying yes, and then you keep growing. And with saying yes and growing, you lose a little bit of control of your systems and processes and all these different things that are paramount to running a successful construction business. So it's important, isn't it, to
try and keep an eye on it.
Keep an eye on it and make sure it doesn't go by the wayside, and have those days in your calendar locked in where you two meet together. You have your golf days and things like that, but there's those days where you meet and you talk nothing but business and say, where have we come from? Where are we now? And where are we heading in the future?
Which is what this business coaching is definitely good for. Every 3 months, you're locked in. You go up there for 4 or 5 days and you do nothing but business. The boys look after themselves. It's actually a good sort of leadership challenge for those boys.
Yeah, they probably like it too.
Yeah, because we just shoot off, get on the plane, go to Sydney. Obviously, we organise stuff for them and make sure they're all right. We're always on the phone if we have to, but we sort of give them a chance to sort of step up and organise and execute whatever they need to execute, and gives us a chance to really concentrate on what the next step is. Because I think we're at that point where we need to really start implementing systems and automation to the business. We've always questioned, do we get someone that does an admin role? Do we get a contracts administrator? Do we get an estimator? They're all key aspects to a building company, but we don't really know where we're heading yet, if we're going to need them full time. We're sort of doing that together, really. Like I'll do a bit of the admin. Dean will take most of the sort of systemization. He's always researching new apps and programs that track the boys' hours and for quoting and stuff like that. So
we've probably got a little bit too much on our plates at the moment. I reckon I'm pretty stretched. I'm pretty sure Robbie's would be almost the same. So I'm site supervisor, construction manager sort of role.
So trying to get our roles down pat, just so we're not stepping on each other's toes, because it's sort of like you'd waste a lot of phone calls going, have you quoted this? Have you invoiced
absolutely.
this? So we're sort of trying to delegate, and we don't actually have our set roles. I sort of want to be sales, client communication, quoting, estimating, invoicing, that sort of side of it. And Dean's really good at organising. He's super organised, so he's like, organising materials, making sure all the boys are there on time, sorting out their roles and responsibilities.
And what about one of the most important interactions, which is the interaction with the client? How do you manage the client interaction?
Beers.
We've actually come to the conclusion, like we've only done, we've only got 3 or 4 runners, but we've done heaps of little jobs prior for straight to direct to client. We find it works best is if Dean and I both set aside some time and we actually go there. One of the jobs that we just done down in Edithvale, Dean managed to get onto that job, but we made it a sort of mission to go there together. And as soon as we walk in, he's like, "Oh, you boys want a beer?" And we're like, "Oh, yeah, this is going to be pretty relaxing." And turned out he absolutely loved golf. He had a putting green in his backyard. He was a doctor and his missus was a cop, so like very successful little couple. And yeah, we just got on like a house on fire and ended up giving him a pack of, we got EvoBuilt logo golf balls and gave them to him. He's like, "Oh, these are unreal, man. Thanks heaps." And we built a big gentleman's room for him, and he sits back in there and smokes his cigar and stuff. He's only a young bloke, I think. What is he, like 30 or something?
Yeah, same as us, I think.
But just a ripper couple. And I feel like Dean and I, when we were sitting there across from the kitchen table, we sort of bounce off each other, and we've got different personalities. So Dean might, chat to his missus for a while because he's chatting about that. I'll chat to golf. And then obviously when we go away, if we can make a positive impact, they're going to go, well, yeah, let's get them to do the job.
Yeah. Look, I agree. Like in our short space of getting to know each other and talking, and you can see the different personality types, but you look at each other for reassurance and acknowledgement, and so it's obviously a good combo, and it's working successfully for you.
It is, and it is good. Like catching up with the clients, we love it. They're just people at the end of the day as well. Like we've got this huge responsibility to possibly build their dream, even if it is a little reno. We've got to treat it like they've saved their whole life for this. This is a big deal. People want to do business with people they know and trust. So we need to create that with them, that trust, not to woo them into it, but we want to have a relationship after the build as well. We want to get recommended to their friends and family, and ultimately get more clients and stuff like that. So it's not over once the job's signed, sealed, delivered. We want to pop in there and see how it's going, possibly play golf with the doctor that plays golf, and meet people in life and know what's their journey and what are they into.
Yeah, look, I talk about it a lot. If I could pick social media as an example, right? People are watching you, they're monitoring you, they're having a look at it, they're earmarking you out for a potential project long before they've reached out to you. So, but the importance of that interaction with the client, the meet and greet, and then not only that, the relationship isn't over when you guys finish the project. You could be building 2nd, 3rd generation projects for that one client.
Well, that one client that we were talking about, the doctor and the cop, they actually called their mum, said, "Mum, she's down the road, Edithvale, she lives in Aspendale." Turns around and she wanted a $250,000 renovation done. They go, don't even shop around, EvoBuilt's doing it. So we're, 80% through that renovation? And then their next door neighbour goes, "Oh, can you build a rooftop deck on my 3rd story roof on the beach?" Yeah.
And then the next door neighbour to their next door neighbour wants another one done apparently.
Yeah, she just called us today while we were sitting down for lunch. So that's all off one job, and
that's right.
Just
it
communicating.
Just shows how important that interaction is and how long it can go. It can just continue on.
And like you say with the social media stuff, and also just the branding, Robbie's been really good with getting stuff printed up, getting the Instagram going, getting it look good, the website pushing, getting the banners made up recently, like they're really like nice professional looking ones, and people walk past that and they see it and they're immediately drawn to that nice colour we've got in our logo, and they might have seen us on the block, or they may just be in the right place at the right time and go, "Oh yeah, I need a renovation done as well." And if you don't implement all those little things, the signage, the clothes, the website, the Instagram, you're going to miss out on a lot of work.
It's all those 1%ers.
Yeah.
One of our strict rules is if you rock up out of uniform to work, you go home. And we've actually got a no smoking rule, and a few people have actually quit smoking in our team, which is it's a health benefit. I used to smoke, but haven't for 8 years or whatever. But yeah, I think it's a good thing to have. Look after your health.
Definitely. Yeah. It doesn't look bad.
And they value your organisation that much that they're willing to
Yeah.
give up a durry for
One of
working
our
for you.
apprentices, Todd, I don't think he owns other clothes other than EvoBuilt. He'll call us, oh man, can I get another shirt? Like, he's a great BMX rider. He'll be down the skate park all night in his EvoBuilt jumper. No dramas. Absolutely loves it.
It's good marketing.
Yeah, and he's a gun.
Yeah, he can do door hardware better than most qualified blokes.
So he's a good apprentice.
Now, tendering. So do you guys tender for projects?
We've sort of dabbled in it, jumped on like Estimate One, and you're battling multi-million-dollar companies. It's just not really worth it. I've probably got 15, 20 quotes that I've got to get to, and I've actually been on the tools at a job we've got in Preston. So don't really tender. We're not going to try and sell ourselves short by beating the next bloke if you want us to come and do it.
And they're 15 jobs that we've probably got.
Yeah.
Because people have already done their research and gone, this is who we want to use.
So
most likely.
You're obviously fortunate you're in an area and you have the people. So your end product is at a point where the supply and demand is outbalanced, where you can sort of say, well, look, we've got work on, our name speaks for itself, and we're able to just continue that successful formula moving forward. And the inquiries keep coming, the door keeps knocking, so you don't really need to go down that path of tendering as such.
Yep. And we've actually had that quite a few times. They'll, get a different quote, but I just sort of say, well, I'm going to send you a very detailed quote and delegate exactly what I've allowed for. They might allow for 15 grand from bathroom. I've allowed 25. Do you know what I mean? And you would go, well, there's 10 grand already. Well, what are they buying for you for 15 grand? It's like you're going to get a bathroom Bunnings and a shitty shower grate, and we'll do like a nice in situ with, a custom vanity. So there's a big difference. You sort of got to really show the client what they're going to get without sort of giving away too much, because obviously if you give them numbers, then they'll go back to the other person and go, well, this is what these guys are going to do.
Shopping around.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't want to do that, because you might spend 8-10 hours on a tender as such.
40 hours.
Or 40, depending how big the job is. But
there's a lot in it.
You don't want to waste all that time, because we don't charge for quotes. A lot of people have actually said, we charge $250 for a quote. Haven't dove down that path yet, but yeah, I feel as though if we can sort of win people over and have a good personality and just chat to them, then that's the kind of client that we want.
What's a favourite aspect of your role and working for EvoBuilt?
I think the client interaction would be good. I like going and meeting someone that I've never met before, but just connecting with people and learning. I think we're both, Dean and I, on a big journey of learning.
Absolutely. And another big one is definitely being like a life mentor for our younger team members, to steer them in the right direction in terms of, saving money, looking after your health, having goals.
Like all of our team, you could put any two of them together and they'd spend the night drinking beers, and like they're all good mates. Half of them go out with each other on the weekends, ride bikes together. So we've got a good culture.
It's a good journey.
And it's only just beginning too.
Yeah.
It's even more exciting. How do you guys differentiate yourself with your competitors?
Well, mate, there's plenty of other better builders than us.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that. But they might not care as much as we do. There's some ripper chippies. Like we've got a network of probably 30, 40 chippies. We've grown up with chippies. All of our mates. I've got a mate, Aaron from ALH. He lives down the road from me. If I'm quoting something, instead of being competitive, I'll just call him up, mate, shit, how much do you do, Loxo panel for? And he'd be like, oh, mate, $50 a square metre. I'm like, oh, cheers, mate, you're a legend. Type it in the quote, send it off. And he'll do the same. Oh, you ever done this cladding before? Yeah, mate, this is how we do it. And we'll catch up, have beers, grew up together. And yeah, I think it's just good aspect of it.
That's probably one of the best aspects of the construction industry, is having that collaborative impact and the opportunity to be able to not compete. I mean, yes, there will be instances when you are competing, but a lot of builders tend to put themselves in particular areas of construction, whether it's residential or commercial or both. But when you're in a niche field, you tend to excel in those particular areas.
Yeah.
You soon learn to know what you're good at.
Exactly. Look, we don't want to, in terms of competing with the open market, like we don't want to get too big. And I don't think we'd ever be in a position where we're going to have to compete, because we're just going to stay true to all the positive things that we're about. And I think it's just going to keep organically growing, and we're never not going to be looking for work.
Who inspires you guys?
Each other a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Dean teaches me heaps because sometimes I just get real pissed off and Dean goes, "Oh, hang on a sec, just calm down, mate. No need to get angry." Happened a couple of times on the block.
Sean Sills inspired me,
Yeah,
business mentor, massively, and everyone a part of that group that's like-minded. That's been really powerful.
yep. Like speaking of social media, so many people on there are just out to help. Like Matty from Elevate, I've never actually met him in person. I've chatted to him, texted on Instagram. Before the block, one of this bloke Hopkins Construction. Never met him before, but he done like a charity thing and just called him up, started chatting, and now he's a landscaper and a chippy. If I've quoted something landscaping, I'll just call him up. No dramas. I've only known him for 3 months. He'd be like, "Yeah, mate, no worries. This is how much I do tile and floor outside." And yeah, so all those people are inspiring and yeah.
Yeah, you can always scroll back on social media to see what someone used to be like. That's very interesting and inspiring because you go, well, it's doable. Someone has to do it.
Yeah.
Dale Cheeseman, the Melbourne builder, he's been on the show as a previous guest, and I remember him talking about how it's actually nice to go back and see where you've come from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some people delete images and things like that, but if you could go back in time and see where you've come from to where you are now, you can then sort of determine where you want to go in future with it.
Yeah. Well, 3 years ago, I wouldn't have even guessed we'd have an employee at all.
Yeah, I was happy to find a nice building company and be just a
Site supervisor. Yeah.
be their main chippy.
Next minute, we got 12 blokes.
I'm all about having a tailored approach to each individual client, to each individual project, and equally to your employees, because the dynamics in your group are obviously very different as well.
Yep.
You have different personality types. So you're in the business of people. You're in the business of hopes and dreams.
And that's the difference between going from a site supervisor to company owners is you go from the business of nailing wood together to communication and organisation. So it's like
And
it
everything.
is the business of people. I really like that actually.
And there's equally romance in it as well with a client. It's you have to change and adapt, and some clients want more interaction than others.
Yep.
Some are so busy and hectic in their lives, but that by you sending a message and by you communicating in that way, it adds fuel to their fire and their whole world blows up.
Yeah.
So it's about tailoring that approach and mentality and customizing it to each individual client. And that's why I like working with people, because every person is different.
Yep.
Just like every project is different. And looking back, like you said before earlier about like stepping up, coming from the tools, you're not necessarily building something. You're used to creating something with spaces, using equipment and tools, to now shifting into that additional space where you're managing people, personalities, suppliers, weather impacts,
Emotions.
yeah, materials,
People's pockets.
Yeah.
like it's and using the analogy of stirring the pot, you're putting that all into to make this one big meal out of different ingredients, and sometimes it's not going to come out right. But if you can adapt and then manage that interaction with the client, say, look, I put my hand up. We didn't do that perfectly. It wasn't 100%. But you know what? If I can have that tough conversation and say, look, at the end of the day, we're prepared to go back and fix what we've stuffed up. What's the worst thing that client can say about you guys at the dinner table? Because I'm telling you now, that's where all the bad stuff and the good stuff comes out.
The dinner table.
The dinner table and or dinner parties and things like that. People are entertaining, right? They have that guy that you said, that client who's got the cigar bar. He loves that moment of having people over in his gentleman's area, having a cigar, having a few whiskeys, and talking about, you should see these guys, you know. And by the way, he looks a lot like Gary Ablett, you know, or, you know what I mean? But these guys, or it could be anyone else, and they say, you know what? At the end of the day, I wasn't happy, but they came back. That's the worst thing that they can say. No one cares about that. No one says, oh, he had to come back and fix something. Right? They just want to know that you're committed to solving their problems and working with them.
And that's actually one thing we've always adapted is if someone's not happy, we'll just go back and fix it. And we'll put our hand up, no dramas. And I know we've done that confidently because it's actually gone down our team chain because some of our guys will go, oh, shit, mate, you've stuffed something up, and I'll hang up the phone and, oh yeah, no worries. Next day he called me up and he's like, oh mate, I've fixed that. I'm like, oh, what do you mean? I was at work with you till 3:30. No, I went back. I was there till 6 o'clock last night and I fixed it up for you for nothing. And that they weren't even clocked on. I was like, far out. That is good.
It means a lot.
That is good. Yeah, that's good culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've obviously both done that extremely well to instill that culture into your business. And as you said, you're not just building spaces or products or creating spaces, but you're feeding
the beast. Yeah.
Your employees they've got your backs. They're wearing your shirts the way you wanted them to, and going above and beyond to get that client happy or put out that fire for you.
Quarterly work breakups help. That's one thing. Whenever someone comes on board, oh, what's one thing about the company? Quarterly work breakups. It's actually unreal for morale.
That's great.
Like, boosts the morale. All the boys get to know each other because they might be on a job for 3 months and not get to know. Like, half of our guys haven't even met our newest employee. They don't even know who he is, and he's coming to work breakup, and they're like, "Who's this Dan bloke?" Like, well, work breakup, you get to meet him, you get to know him.
So what's work break look like?
Last time we hired a party bus and drove them down to Torquay to 13th Beach, and just bought 5 slabs, chucked them on the bus, and went down there, hired everyone's carts. Yeah, had a few beers and played golf for the day, and
just had a bit of
that was on a weekday
session.
Yeah, just said no, we're not going to work today, and done that, and a bottomless brunch or just something to get all the boys together. And
paintball.
Yeah, we done paintball.
Those little things, they're not massive outlays. It adds up. It costs a bit to have a day off work, but what you get out from that small outlay makes a huge difference moving forward with your business.
Definitely.
All right. Well, Robbie and Dean from EvoBuilt, it's been really nice to sit down and talk to you guys and hear the real story behind everything else. So congratulations on your work on the block. It's always a hell of an achievement, and you obviously get a lot of exposure out of that. But just having those relationships with people moving forward, I think it's a really nice thing. And well done to you guys.
Thank you, mate. Thanks for having us.
Well, that was another Build Hatch episode with Robbie and Dino from EvoBuilt. As you can tell, these guys have a lot of fun at work. And I love how, although they like to enjoy their job, these guys know what it takes to lay the right foundations and get the fundamentals right. Well, it's not too far away from a crazy end of 2020. And this year has been such a privilege to bring you these stories every single week. At the time of recording this, we only have a couple of weeks left. However, by popular demand and from the amazing listeners who tune in every single week, I have some exciting announcements and plans for an even bigger 2021. So stay tuned for that announcement. You guys and your feedback and all the stories keep me going every single week, and I absolutely love opening up all these opportunities, bringing in more building, construction and architectural content on Build Hatch. As usual, please check out our Instagram page where you'll be able to learn more about our guests and some of the features of the work that we talk about. Have a great week, and you'll hear me again on the airwaves next week. Thanks for listening to another episode of Build Hatch.
You have experienced a Build Hatch developed production.